Who wants to join me to actually get people to drink healthy water and never use a single serve container again? And nobody raised their hand, and I tendered my resignation on the spot.
Wow. I've never heard the story.
I end up as a neighbor and a community member taking the water that's under my stewardship and transforming it into the highest quality spring water. Right here at this location, the oil industry created the recycling industry. They wanted us to somehow think it's okay to have containers made of oil. You can filter your water as much as you want, but you'll never make it safe.
I would wonder where water filtration and the propaganda around that originated.
That's so easy. So here's what happened. Like in 2013, even though I had the first certified structured water device in the world, I was like, am I structured toward harmony? Or am I structured toward chaos? And, I have an aqua energizer right here and, we'll show it to people.
Beautiful. Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching The Healthy Alternative. Today, I have a very special guest with me, somebody who is a colleague and friend. I've known you for maybe 6-7 years, something like that. I think my first brand partnership I did with you, we've been through a lot of ups and downs. I've been wanting to have you on the show for literally 5 years now. So we finally made it happen. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so great to revisit with you after the road we've been down. And, we waited a long time for this interview. We wanted to make sure that everything was set. Now we're there. So exciting time.
Yeah. It's funny. I did a live stream maybe 2-3 nights ago. And at the end, I had got myself talking about water, which I often do. I always reference water. And then as I was referencing water, I was like, oh, you know what? I said, you know what, guys? We're going to be talking a lot more about water coming up soon because I knew we had our interview scheduled. And obviously, we're going to be getting into water today because you are what I would call a water specialist. And when I very first started studying health and wellness, I found out water was so much more than simply H2O. So that's going to be the topic of discussion today. But I also wanted to just do a dive into your history a little bit to find out how you became the water specialist, as I call you, what your journey has looked like and any challenges, things you've overcome. So if you're interested in doing that, we can get into that today.
Oh, yeah, it's a pretty funny story. It starts with me drunk on a college campus. I'm drinking the wrong kind of water. And I'm looking at the recycling bins that my empty containers go into. And I'm like, where do those things go? It just always bothered me. As drunk as I was and as stupid as I was like, I just don't understand. When I put that in there, how's it help the earth? And that curiosity led me to become the chairman of the recycling committee in Hingham, Massachusetts. And I joined this committee. They had members on it since 1974. They honestly weren't really up to much. And so I had to become the chairman if we were going to get anything done. And we started a project. And the project was we worked with the bureaucracy to get recycling bins all over town because it was important that we were the public face of the town and that we put a public statement out there that says, if you have a recyclable container, we're giving you a receptacle to put it in because we're for real. That was our message. And it took 2 years because of the nature of the way bureaucracy is. And after we finally finished putting it in, I drove around town looking at our work and I started to cry. And I wasn't in the habit of crying at that stage in my life. It was an utter and complete shock. And it took me, I would say, 3 to 4 months to figure out what had happened. What happened was we as a committee had given people a reason to feel good about single-serve plastic containers. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give people something that whatever it was, I didn't know what I had to learn, but I knew there was a story. And when I learned the story, and it was so much better than what comes in a single-serve plastic container, then people would just take that container and drop it on the spot and be like, I'm out. I'm not gonna play that game anymore. So as soon as I figured that out, I went back to the committee and I said, we missed the mark. We gave people a reason to feel good about abusing the earth, and that's really not what this is about. who wants to join me in doing a transformative project to actually get people to drink healthy water and never use a single serve container again? And nobody raised their hand. And I tendered my resignation on the spot. And I said, okay, I'm out. I'm following my heart. And that literally combined with a career change to lead me out of the life that I was living into one that was completely and utterly new, and that was led by water. It's quite a,
Wow.
right?
I've never heard the story.
Yeah.
Um, so you you had the pleasure of like really understanding your passion in life and what your purpose was in your early 20s, really is what it boils down to. I was looking for my passion. I was looking for my purpose for depth throughout my 20s. I didn't find it until really like my early 30s. And so you were able to do something, make a huge change. So I'm curious, like the tears, because I want some clarity. Did that come from the fact that you had accomplished something, or did that come from the fact that you kind of missed the mark and didn't realize it? Is that
I,
what you were saying?
I missed the mark. And I got to be honest with you, Chris. I have 4 kids, and I adore my kids. So a huge amount of my life is dedicated to my kids. And that passion that I felt in my heart was actually more powerful than the birth of a child. Like
Mm.
it was like one of those marks that completely changed my life. And it didn't happen in my early 20s. It actually happened in my 30s.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, that makes sense. Is we're in alignment then, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. It takes a while for these things to boil through, right?
Yeah. So I actually recently, someone was talking about like biodegradable plastic alternatives, I guess is what you would call it. And they were talking about because I guess hemp is like you can start using hemp now. And I saw this little video of someone showing like a hemp bottle that, you know, degraded over time. I think it was 30 days. It wasn't very long. And I thought, okay, that looks like a great option. I'm just curious, based on your experience and you know the research you've done, do you think that that's a solution? Obviously, not to the purity and the quality of the water, but as far as like us using plastic and kind of creating that waste.
Well, it's kind of interesting the way life taps you, right? No pun intended, but like when life hooks you through your heart into your ultimate purpose, it's so much more multi-dimensional than you could have expected. And so where the journey has taken me is it's taught me about oneness. And over the last 13, 14 years, I have noticed that when I'm at the table, I speak for the earth too. Like somebody's got to give voice to some of the concerns. And so the issue is we have put a extraordinary investment in infrastructure around the majority of this world where you and I can turn on a tap and relatively clean water comes out. Now we can argue about the merits of that water, and we probably will, right? But the point is, we put that infrastructure there, and instead of treating that infrastructure as the elixir of life, as the most important thing there ever was, we call it just tap, and we pay it no attention at all. So, in my world, you don't even end up asking that question because I end up as a neighbor and a community member taking the water that's under my stewardship and transforming it into the highest quality spring water right here at this location. And then I have a spigot at the street, and anybody that needs water just comes by and fills it up with the best water life can imagine. So when we shift the context like completely, then the questions don't even come up. And so we've been fooled into giving away our power as beings and to living these really small lives. And when we live in union, in communion with water, in oneness, the questions we would ask would be so much different. And
Mm.
and I'm practical, right? I'm physical. Like I'm a real guy in a real body. Would it be better to choose a bottle that biodegrades after 30 days instead of one that takes 1,000 years? Yeah, sure. a better source of plastic. But, let's not kid ourselves. Like I had to bookmark it to actually remember that it's true, that NPR actually really did do a story, and that the oil industry created the recycling industry
Huh.
because they wanted us to somehow think it's okay to have containers made of oil.
Wow.
It's the depths at which we're misled about truth, and the layers, and the when we think we're like being a good doobie, like we're learning to be a good human being, we're
Hmm.
just like falling into a trap of learning the next level that they make available to us. But that's not the same as piercing through into oneness and truth. And that's what I'm interested in. That's what I think that feeling in my heart was all about.
The that makes sense. I think that's I have a lot of feelings in that vein where we have to completely you have to think outside the box. You have to it's like they put you in this little box. This whole thing that oil created the recycling industry. I've never heard that, but it makes 100% sense. Cuz they're diabolical. They're literally diabolical. Um I heard that there's this gardener that I follow. I'm into gardening recently, a couple years, and he talks about living in the I want to say I guess it's like the mid 1900s, and he said that at that time bottled water didn't exist. Like it's not so far in the past where bottled water didn't exist. It's a fairly new concept. But one of the things he said is the reason why he believes we're drinking so much bottled water and what's the best bottled water and da 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 is because we're dehydrated. So I guess when he was coming up, his family garden, they farmed. He ate a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. He hydrated well off the fresh fruits and vegetables. Part of my understanding of water and my journey was that when you create water, living water, when you do it the right way, it becomes structured. It's able to hydrate the cells and nourish the body, cleanse the body the way it's supposed to, and thus, how you interact with water completely changes. How do you feel about that statement or, just that reality? Like when people are drinking bottled water, is there a good version of a bottled water? Like,
No, no, there's
no.
no, there's no. So my prayer was that I would learn a story that rendered the plastic bottle industry obsolete. And so my prayer's been granted, right? Like my poor kids, all four of them, they're like, Dad, you ever going to talk about anything other than water? Nope. That's what I'm going to talk about. Water related to your emotions, water related to your creativity, your energy flows, your digestion, your spiritual wellness, water related to your athletic performance, water related to how we relate as a family, water related to everything. And so you can't dishonor the oneness that we are and get an honorable relationship with life. It's never going to happen. And so, we talk about these subconscious things that are in us that like undermine our present. Like, what did I do to attract that? And what we don't do is we don't build an authentic relationship with our creator and take our cues for how life works from our creator. So we're a constant conflicted mess of things going this way and things going that way.
Mm.
And so if I don't learn it from God or creator or source or whatever words are good for the audience, if it doesn't come from there, it's not true. It's not true. And everything that I need to know comes from there. And so the in between is just giving up illusions and piercing through things and like all those things that we learn that like make us seem smart, like we're being good citizens, that all has to be unwound,
Mm.
right? And so, nature is my greatest teacher. And, back when this company was getting going, I'm not attached to a technology. It's not like, hey, I got one structured water device, and if you don't buy it from me, you're stupid. Like, that's not my energy at all. My energy is like, what's the best? And is there
Mm-hmm.
something better? And I'll trade in what I'm doing right now, even if it hurts my economic prospects, because something's better. And so over time, I've traded in over and over and over and over and over again until I realized that I used to brand us as the structured water superstore. I thought that was really cool branding. Like, I'm so knowledgeable about so many different types of structured water. Why wouldn't I want to position myself as that? And then that all dropped away. And the way I brand us now is we are the company that loves you. That's it. We love you. We love people. So when somebody shows up and they're at wherever they are on their journey, we're like, oh, I recognize that. I see that, or I don't know that yet. But whatever it is, it's their truth. So it's important to me. And we simply love people. And so what does loving people look like while being in the water industry? It means piercing through. Piercing through. So I'll give you an example of piercing through. And this might not be, we might save this for what you want to do later. I'll let you direct the vision. But one of the things that's come through me recently is you can filter your water as much as you want, but you'll never make it safe.
Mm.
In other words, filtration doesn't scale to the task that it's been assigned to because we don't know who we are and we don't know what's going on in this culture and how we're being misled. And when you unpack all of that, then you start to find out what safe water really is. I love that that conversation has blessed the world and blessed me by coming through me, and then I get to participate in it. What a fun conversation to have.
Yeah, I actually I learned that once again on my personal journey. Filtration is like, you could say it's one piece of it, but then also you can almost discard it too, depending on how you approach it. Water has the ability to neutralize contaminants in it when it's living, when it's healthy. Um, I would actually be I would wonder where water filtration and the propaganda around that originated,
Oh,
especially.
that's so easy. That's so easy. So here's what happened. Like in 2013, I went from a man sitting at home, entrepreneur, nobody to talk to. I had all this passion about water and nobody, no phone ringing. And then I got interviewed and my voice went around the world. I was like, oh, this is cool. So the phone rings and the person has an Australian accent. And then somebody calls from Ghana. And then somebody calls from Europe. And then somebody calls from the West Coast, the East Coast of the United States. And I listened to all these people and they all sound the same.
Mm,
They all have the same question. And the question is, does your device remove X from water?
hmm
And I sat there listening to all these different dialects and accents and ways of thinking, and they were all the same. And I was like, oh my God, global marketing.
yeah.
This is what they do. So, what they've done, to be like really overt about it, is they've created a fear based relationship with that which we're made of and taught us that to be safe, which is a false standard, that we have to remove something from that which we are.
Mm,
Now, I have a philosophical part of me, and I'm sitting there thinking, if I'm going with everything, how can I remove something from anything?
mm.
I'm like, that's impossible. It's impossible. And so all those people taught me the lies together. And I learned that when people show up, like part of loving them is helping them understand that their vocabulary in which they want to engage me is limited and they had no idea. And the basic structure of it is they are using language of fear and separation. Holy cow, what an amazing opportunity. So I don't know what year that all started, but the plastic bottle industry, as you said, did come into existence during our lifetimes, certainly during mine. And I know people who remember when it was first offered, and they're like, "That's never gonna fly." And it's just like what twisted me out of the financial industry in 2008 till 2010 is that I followed natural cycles always. Even when I was in a different industry, I was following natural cycles. And what it would take for the stock market to go up after the massive decline in 2008 when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt and all the banks got bailed out, what
Hmm.
it would take was fiction perpetuated by whoever does that, the government, the corporations, where they would have to put so much force to make things go up again that it would have to be a lie. And I literally responded to that by twisting my spine twisted. And
Mm.
so I literally could not fathom that anymore because I used my body as a truing mechanism for feeling the stock market. And I was like, this can't be. I'm out.
Mm.
And so, obviously God had a different plan for me. And
Right.
I was going to be used by water to do something a lot more interesting, thankfully. But the end of it was literally a twisting of my spine.
Yeah, that's wild. If something to cause my spine to twist, I'd be out of there too. Like, golly, that's
Yeah. It's funny because God delivered like the easy way out. Like my business partner Tom cared so much about me, and he and Matt sat me down and they're like, "Hey, you're falling apart. You need to take a leave of absence and get back in alignment with what matters to you in life." And I was like, "No, you're just trying to get my paycheck. Like, no, like I'm keeping my money. You guys aren't getting my money." And 11 days after they kindly, after it was shown the easy way out, I had so much pain in my kidneys in the middle of the night that I called an ambulance for myself.
mm,
And I never went back to work. I never served another single day as a stockbroker. So the path of ease and grace was given. I just refused it. I beat it with a sledgehammer. It's like, okay, then we're going to keep twisting your spine. We're going to take you out. Either way, you're going. So the path is given.
that's interesting. I think a lot of people would believe that. Well, I guess even in the movies they tell you, look, we can either do this the easy way or we could do it the hard way, you know? So I guess that those options are always there, but people often only see the hard way. And or maybe we just often only take the hard way. Um
Well, we
so
get addicted. We get addicted, right, to conflicts of interest. So the money was so strong, and even though I had enough to, as was proven, when I started the water business, I went 3 years with no income.
mm,
So it's proven that I had enough to transition with
yeah.
grace. I just didn't transition with grace. I transitioned with pain and suffering and resistance. So we get used to those conflicts of interest because we don't know who we are and we don't know what life is about. And so, looking back all the way, the year I turned 30, I made $1 million. And it was like hopping up on a tsunami on a surfboard and just landing that baby on the beach, like jumping off and grabbing a pina colada or whatever the image would be, right?
Yeah.
And there was a part of me that spoke to me that said, you will never ride a wave like that again. If you want your life to go higher than you just went, leave now.
Mm,
I knew it right then. And
wow.
I stayed like 9 more years. And each of those 9 years, my income was cut in half
Mm,
each year. It just kept going down and down and down and down. And I deluded myself about it because I was still riding on the stock options from the early days and I thought I was still okay. And I was not okay. I had fallen apart a couple of years before I knew it.
that's crazy. I mean, we get signals, we get inclinations. I think it's one of the reasons why they keep our gut so busy because we can't use our gut feelings. But like we have all these signals, and we somehow find a way to ignore them due to that addictive personality. Whatever it is that you're addicted to, whatever it is that you feel like is going to give you that next big rush or whatever you think you need and you're chasing after it. Not being malleable and not being allowing life to teach you, right? When you're rigid, which is the complete opposite of water. Like
Yes.
rigidity is complete opposite of water. You life beats you up really bad, and that's something that I have learned. I do my best to convey that message. Like be flow, go with the natural flow of things. People have these ideas in their heads for how things are going to go, how they're going to play out. Man plans and God laughs, that whole vibe. And it's like it's not ever going to work out the way that you think it is. It's just that's just not the way it works. So
I, yeah.
you decide. Go ahead.
Well, I would actually suggest, I mean, a pretty deep cut here, and this might not be for everybody, but I look at the evolution of the industry around structured water, and I look at like early pioneers like 100 years ago and Victor Schauberger being a naturalist and watching what's happening in nature. Like, hey, if I spin logs when I'm sending them downstream, I can get them to go a lot further with a lot less energy. And so he was practicing impacting real life with structured water 100 years ago. And then if you look at like my little humble place of participating in the global discussion, the biggest thing for me is that 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, like I had a dowser who I would go to and she would like channel information for me. And it was always, she has those gifts, I don't. She can access things I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And then about a year into drinking structured water, I was driving to my little brother's rehearsal dinner with my kids, and we were an hour late because we had some obligation up in Massachusetts. And we're in the middle of a part of Connecticut that we don't normally go on. And I say, I'm getting off at the next exit. And the kids are like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm getting off. And they're like, okay. I'm like, use your phones, figure out how to get over to I-95. I don't know where we are, but I'm getting off. So we get off, and the kids are like, what the fuck, Dad? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, just look at your phones. And they look and they go, oh my God. I'm like, what? Like, if we had gone past that exit ramp, the entire highway is stopped and we would go
Mm.
nowhere. And I was like, wait, what was that? Like, what just happened? And
Yeah.
what happened was there was this massive tingling in my crown chakra and just this knowing. And I followed it.
Mm.
That and I called all my teachers. I'm like, what's happening to me? And it took a minute until I could find somebody. And that person was like, your third eye's opening up. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And then I started to notice like tingling here equals awareness of something that's not literally available, but is more dropping in. And so I was one of the ones on the network of humanity to be receiving third eye opening messages at that time. And by virtue of having a company and exploring structured water, I started to have customers, and the customers started to have the same experience and feed it back to me. And I was like, oh, this is a byproduct of what we're into. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started to learn about fluoride and calcification of the pineal gland and how this opens up. And here's my deep take on it. I would suggest that water decides when it's time, and then it makes things available to us.
Mm.
And so we think like we're so in control, but evolutionarily speaking, water's like, okay, they need to start learning about structured water in nature. And now, during this decade, we're learning about structured water in the pineal gland and opening that up. Chris, I've done an experiment recently where I have an incandescent bulb and an LED bulb on the same lamp, and the LED is now flickering. And I can't stand it. So forgive me as I stand up for a second and turn this thing
Okay, no problem.
on. Yeah, the government's bringing incandescents back. It's one of the
I
parts of the new administration. I'm so thankful.
Oh
Um,
yes.
But no better experiment than having the two side by side and seeing the way the flicker of the LED is like driving me nuts. I'm like, I got to turn that off. Get that out of there later today.
I actually purchased like, I don't know, like 10 or something full spectrum bulbs a couple of years ago and swapped them all out because I started learning about the LED lights and how bad they are for you. As a matter of fact, as we continue to like build this conversation about water, at one point I was exclusively using mirroring glass or infinity jars to protect my water from light waste, which a lot of people don't realize can impact the water. There's a lot of things that impact water, and my through my experience, you should treat water like a fine wine. Like you treat it with love and care. But the way we interact with water is just it's very abusive. It's very dismissive. You
Yes.
know. So there's a lot of benefit. I mean, what you're talking about, this relationship essentially that you're talking about, a lot of people miss it because how can you build a relationship with somebody that you abuse all the time? So you started to distribute water structuring devices, but with a desire to just what's the best, what's optimal. And that always has resonated with me. That's one of the reasons I think our relationship has progressed because that's my mindset too. I'm not attracted to just one specific thing. It's like this is not the end all be all for me. I'm always looking for, an alternative, something that's better, what's optimal. So I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you do, we could talk about some of the different iterations of structuring devices and what maybe like what was better, what was worse, and kind of lead up to, where you are today, what you're doing today with water structuring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great topic. It's funny because with the closed pineal gland and no mentor to answer that question, I was like, okay, I have the hunger, I have the question, what makes a better structured water better than another, but I don't know where to go for it. And so I ended up developing habits like, or structures. One of them I called 3 days on, 3 days off.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I would do is I would hear about a new technology, I'd bring it into my home, and then I'd do that technology out of the tap by itself, and then I'd do it in combination with another technology, and then I'd do it compared to what I was doing before. And I would just do 3 days at a time with any technology. The other thing that I would do is, as I was going to bed at night, I'd be like, okay, water, like, I'm confused. I don't get it. I don't understand where you're leading me. I don't understand what truth is in this topic. And it's exhausting me. You're like, I'm getting worn out here. So I'm just going to lay it at your feet or lay it at my feet and I'll put it somewhere other than on my head when I go to sleep tonight. And when I wake up in the morning, you just show me. Just show me what I'm supposed to know. And that was such a joyous time. It was like a combination of the third eye opening with recognizing that the water molecule is our connection to the entire universe. So there's
Mm.
literally nothing that you can't learn through the water molecule. You just got to get out of the way and
Mm.
allow it to happen. One other thing that is a little tangent to what we're talking about this moment, but I want to share is I lived right by the ocean during this time period. And I noticed that I had kind of a scarcity mentality about my own moods. What I mean is, I go down to the water and I'd be like in a mood, I'd be cranky, and then I would do some long tone chakra balancing, and I'd like stand in the edge of the ocean and make these sacred sounds. And then my mood would start to brighten. It was like a full spectrum bulb that would turn on. And I would like run home and like grab my keyboard and start typing. And after a while, I was like, "Oh, it's infinite. You don't have to run home. You can just saunter up the hill. There's gonna be everything you need as a downloaded inspiration when you get home. You don't have to worry that it's gonna go away." So I began to learn to trust and to go through a process of like, wow, I'm just completely supported, and everything that I need to know is given. So there were a couple of lessons along the way that were decisive. And one of them is electricity. If electricity is involved in a structuring technology, I'm out, right? The more man made a technology is, the more I'm out. And
Mm,
conversely, the more natural it is, I'm in. So I
mm,
learned about sacred geometry, and I learned
mm,
how sacred geometry is the language that creation uses to create. Like you and I are doing English together right now, but life is doing sacred geometry underneath everything. A tree
right.
doesn't just get some branches, like it
Mm,
unfolds mathematically. And same thing with a human body and a shell and everything. And so I learned about sacred geometry, and I also learned about vortex spins. And the vortex, one the concept that I remember like really changed me is that our mathematicians call the spin inside of a vortex. And a vortex looks, for those that don't know what that means exactly, like picture a tornado and the way it's spinning. The mathematicians say that the inside of that spin is infinitely fast. I'm like, oh, so they can't measure it.
mm,
And I'm like, that must be in the direction of God, right? Like, if
mm.
they can't measure it, like, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So because I lived right next to the ocean, I walked in the ocean a lot, and I would go in like mid thigh deep, and I noticed that the waves themselves created vortexes, and then the movement of my legs going through the water created vortexes. And I
Mm,
started to see there's an infinite amount of infinitely fast spin within a very small confine around me.
mm,
I'm like, if there's that much like infinite energy right here, I got to pay attention. And the biggest thing that I paid attention to led me to the conclusion that the most important scientific instrument in the universe for you is you. And what I concluded was when I'm near all those infinite spins, I feel amazing. That's it. Like my being's like yes, 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 yes. There's a very sacred valley here on Maui, and it has 500 inches of rain upstream, and then it comes down through the stream. And one of the things I say is I could take a mood into the Iao Valley, but I can't bring it back out.
mm.
I can't because that water washes me clean.
That's
And so,
powerful.
right? And so, like, what do you want? I just want a better life, right? And so if I walk next to infinite spin and it's better, that's what I want. I don't need proof. I don't need a scientist. I don't need anything. All right. So as the journey matures, I start to realize that my industry is as guilty of being an industry as any other industry, right? We
Aren't they
all want
all?
to make ours. Look at us. We're special, right? And so we're the structured water industry. And so then I got my devices tested, and I got proof that my devices are structured water and other people's devices aren't structured water. And that was part of my differentiating process of dropping some of the old technologies and sticking with new technology. But then I realized as I went to conferences and I be with my love for people that I was selling them on this structured water concept, and I was no better than anybody else. And so here's what I learned. All water is structured. There's no such thing as unstructured water. The question is, how is your water structured, intentionally or unintentionally? Because if
Mm-hmm.
you don't make a choice about it, I tell you right now, your water's structured with 5G.
Mm.
It's structured, right? And so
Very good
structure
point.
is actually just the order of the water.
Right.
Like, is it coherent, right? And so instead of saying structured, unstructured, even though I had the first certified structured water device in the world, I was like, no, this is bull. Let that go. It's not true. The question is, am I structured toward harmony or am I structured toward chaos?
Correct. Got it.
Right? And so
Mm.
now check this out. Like when you talk about being the company that loves you, on the realm toward harmony, somebody prays. That's good. That was free. That was really easy. Somebody goes into nature. That was free. Somebody sits in the sun. That was free. There are all these amazing ways to move toward harmony, but don't cost anything. Let's make sure we talk about them. Then, exactly which comes before the other, that's a little bit questionable. But let's say we put a crystal next to our water, right? Let's say we have a maturation process where we put it in the sun in blue glass for 24 hours. All the different things. Let's say we cultivate a community of people who honor water with us and we speak about it in that kind of way. All of those are harmony. And the question is, what's the degree of harmony that's sufficient for you to feel that you've achieved structured water? And so ultimately, I ended up with a water scientist who initiated the Aqua Energizer. And when it came out, it was the best structured water device in the world. It was particularly better than previous versions that I sold in that it's not plastic anymore. We're actually making it from really highly refined materials.
Yeah.
And it's really simple, and the process is alchemical. So, you can have our materials. Our materials are copper, crystals, and minerals. Have at it. Go make your own device. Like, it's not that easy to make it. And so over time, what we did was we amassed a team of people who measure subtle energies in different ways. And then we had them examine all of the assumptions about how we make the Aqua Energizer. And then we made refinements, and then we made prototypes, and then we tested them with them. And we went through that for a year. And so the consequence is that the Aqua Energizer that we're making today is the best version of the product that we've ever seen. And it's so much better than anything else I've experienced that I don't sell anything anymore except as used devices, because I allow our customers to trade in old products. Because when I sold it to them, I gave them a presentation that said it was for life. And then I changed, and I feel like I have to honor that if I love people. So I give people a credit on trade-ins. But basically, the old devices are only as used, and the only reason to participate with them is to save money. Like, that's why the old one's there. But if you want the finest, then, I have an Aqua Energizer right here, and, we'll show it to people.
Beautiful. Whew.
Right?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. And, it's really, yeah.
We can kind of see a little bit
Come
inside.
on, baby. What did I got to do to get some? Oh, you know what? Look at this. Look what I left on my desk last night.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so that screen right there that holds the crystals in, that was the biggest change we made. And it did two things. It added sacred geometry, and it removed 95% of the solder. And so at the same time that we were doing that, we shifted from a lead-free solder to silver solder, right?
Okay.
So top shelf, right? And so those were the little things that we did. And as a consequence of those, I've been doing this, like, I've been waiting 12 years to get to here. And, this is part of why you and I waited on the timing, is that I would not come in front of your audience until I had a warehouse loaded with the finest product. I wouldn't do it, because you told me, you're like, don't make me look bad in front of my audience ever. And I was like, man, I took that really seriously. That was a big call on your part. And so, you were ready to do this interview like a year and a half ago. I wasn't ready. And so now we finally have the warehouse loaded with the best product on earth. And so we've shifted from a production phase to a growth phase.
Okay.
And so inside of the growth phase, I've been putting the Aqua Energizer into the hands of influencers. And it is so fun. It is just the most amazing thing I've ever experienced, because the product goes into their home. I'm not there to talk to them as that happens. And they just keep telling me, I love your product. I love it. I use it all the time. I tell people about it. It's the most amazing product I've ever experienced. And so, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, very. Man, the product, I'm a big branding guy. Like, I just naturally, when I create my own products, the materials, the visuals, the feel, all that matters. So when I interact with other people's products, I can tell when they also have that same energy and that vision towards their product, and when they don't. Looking at your Aqua Energizer, like when you compare it to probably 90% of other water structuring devices, it just completely blows it out of the water, just visually alone. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further and say, as it relates to the portable devices and the way that particular device is intended, it's top. I have not seen any water structuring device that has put that much into the materials. They're always plastic or something. And I'm just like, I don't understand how you can care about this people and water and create your device from plastic. Like I understand economically speaking, it makes sense. But then I also notice they'll make them out of plastic, but they still sell them for $500. And it's just like, I don't understand that. And it drives me insane, because of how I am. Right. So I absolutely love, the materials and everything and all the thought and that was put into it. And of course, sacred geometry. I mean, anybody, it's one of them sayings now, if you know, you know. Sacred geometry is everything. Like it's such a powerful knowing if you understand how it works, how it's literally lined throughout history. Everybody talks about the Great Pyramids and all that type of stuff. Sacred geometry is what's used to do these things that we think are magical or impossible. It's really incredible.
Well, Chris, when you start from a different place, you get to a different place. And so the difference between the Aqua Energizer of 2024 and 2025 and any structured water device that's ever come before it is that these come from my love for people. And I don't understand capitalism
Mm,
like people take something that they make for $15. There's a notable inventor in our industry who used to brag about how he could make his device for $15.
mm,
And I was like, he had the leading edge position in his market. And if he had taken that 23-fold increase in profit from his production cost to his sales cost, and he had used it to better the relationship with water, he
mm.
would have built a world leading company,
Yeah.
right? That's what would have happened. And instead, what happened is he got ousted from his own company for lying,
Mm,
right? And so it's just a different direction. And when I did business with that company, it was always hard on me. There was so much friction, you know? And so where we come from now is I don't have any shareholders. I don't answer to anybody other than water and myself. And
mm.
I want to keep it that way. No intention, like most companies, they build themselves to sell themselves and go retire. Retirement is building a community of amazing people. So, for example, like we're Monday. Last Tuesday, somebody I've never met in person who has a business nurturing the nervous system completed a text exchange that had been going on for 48 hours, hopped on a plane with his wife, and came and spent 3 days on Maui as my guest, going to the sacred valleys and meeting people. And they doing sessions on people's nervous systems, including my own. And that is the retired life. Is like
Mm-hmm.
spending time with people like that. So when we were navigating the subtle energy measurements of our assumptions, our crystal cost went up sixfold.
Mm,
That was a lot. And I just ate it.
mm.
I just ate it. I'm like, well, that's what it costs to make the device correctly. There's no There's no choose. Well, no, but the other ones are less expensive. We'll make more money.
Right.
Who cares? Well, what would I do with the money? Like, go eat unethically, or go like have some inflated version of myself having some physical world experience. I don't care. Like, what I care about. So I think this really is a way to like cut through it all. Like, I looked up at the sky 10 years ago and saw the chemtrail planes. I saw the residuals of all those chemtrails in the sky. And I was like, I want to bring those planes down. I was like,
Mm.
I do not consent to that plane dropping chemicals over my garden. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel good. With no hair on top, I'm like a little bit closer to it than everybody else. I'm like,
Yeah.
I do not consent. And I was like, well, I don't have a fleet of planes to send up there to bring them down. So how am I going to ground those planes? And I have a legitimate answer for me. And my answer is I'm going to fill the heart of
Mm.
each human being who I can reach with living water. And when their relationship between their heart and their creator is governed in water, then maybe, just maybe, they'll have that heart-based experience like I did when I gave up the recycling committee and I started this company. And
Hmm.
maybe, just maybe, one day they'll go into work and say, I'm not following that order. I'm not doing it. It's not just. It's not righteous for human beings. And so ultimately, my biggest belief is that you, the listener, who are tuning in to listen to Chris and I, you are the most important part of the universe. And that when you have authentic relationship to why you were created and what your purpose is, then you kind of color in your piece of the jigsaw puzzle. And if we can lay down piece after piece after piece of people who are their authentic piece, then we look at this world and we go, not on my watch. Like, we're not
Hmm.
doing this anymore. And it's nothing grandiose. It's not too much pressure on any of us. It's simply an invitation from our Creator to fulfill that which we are here to do. And I believe the way we get there is inclusive of living water. It's inclusive. I don't know how it could not be. So when I shifted from a career that was all about money to a career that's all about oneness and learning how life works, I dedicated myself to coming from a different place. And so what people experience, I believe, when they touch an aqua energizer and the water comes through, is they feel that love that was given to me as a mission. Right? That's it. They feel it and know it for themselves, and that's everything. I couldn't give them any more with my life.
Very, very profound. I'm actually sitting here thinking about how our missions align so well because okay, Michael Jackson famously said that you have to start with the man in the mirror. If you want to make change in this world, you start with yourself. Well, that was just the beginning, right? You start with yourself. So you got the change in your heart, and then you decided there were certain things you saw weren't right. What do I need to do to impact those things? So your mission through using water, living water, if I can get this into the mouth of everybody, then they will start to change, right? And through that change, we can see the holistic change that we want to see. And that's exactly my mission as well. I noticed that when people were eating processed foods, say unethical foods, processed foods, or whatever, chemical foods, anything that's out of alignment with what's natural and what we should be consuming, it altered people's ability to think, learn, and develop. Recently, I learned through my research that the government has been putting chemicals, and it's not even necessarily like what you think. It might not be like some synthetic chemicals. Sometimes they derive these chemicals from fungus and natural things, but they put chemicals in the food to make you more open to suggestion, right? So it's essentially a mild form of mind control. You eat the processed food, you watch the propaganda, and they're able to manipulate your thinking and your outlook on life. So what I saw, now that's me, I learned that recently, right? But what I saw early on was when people changed what they ate, they started losing weight, they got healthier. The way they thought changed as well. And now I'm seeing the correlation. Well, if you're not eating the processed foods that have the mind control agent in it, you start thinking for yourself, you know? And once people start thinking for themselves, they can make better decisions because no one wants to do something detrimental for themselves. It's not like we choose, we are like, you know what, I'm gonna run this body into the ground and I'm gonna destroy everybody around me. You know? We don't make those choices consciously. We are manipulated into making those choices and to thinking those are good choices. But the reality is when people start to get healthy, they think differently. Now, you had mentioned the process of the third mind opening, and I just had a guest come on a couple weeks ago and talk about the third eye. I want people to understand that because I have a lot of Christians and religious people in my audience, and they always get turned off by these types of topics. If you mention crystals, if you mention third eye, I want you guys to understand the reason why you're turned off is because you fear what you don't understand. You fear what you don't know. There is fear that's been purposely placed inside of you to keep you under control. It's all part of the propaganda. It's all part of the manipulation. Okay? The pineal gland or the third eye is a gland that is at the center of your brain that God put there. This is not magic, voodoo, or anything crazy that y'all be coming up with. Okay? It is a part of your anatomy that was put there by God. And it has a function. And that function is designed to tap you in with God. That's the whole point. It's how you communicate with God everywhere. So when I was on my health and wellness journey and I'm coming to that realization, I was like, I got to get my body healthy and clean so I can communicate with the God that I say I serve. Because a lot of us are completely disconnected from the creator. We just go through the motions. We go to church, we read a Bible, we say a scripture, but we're not actually connected. How are you connected to the creator, the God that created everything, and yet you abuse the most sacred thing that he gave you, your temple? How does that make sense? If you are 100 pounds overweight, if you have diabetes, if you whatever ailment that you're dealing with, how is it you can say you're connected and you serve this God and everything, but you're abusing his temple? That makes no sense. So it's time for us to open up our eyes and understand the real message here, because you guys are being manipulated. And I think that through structured water technology, eating healthier, fasting, and people understand everything I talk about already. You can start to get back to that harmony and that alignment, and you can start to get benefit that you never would have otherwise. So my next question to you, Patrick, what are some of the benefits people can see from using structured water? Or using your device, the Aqua Energizer. We'll talk about that because we don't want the Discord structured water, right? We want the Harmony structured water.
Yeah, we want the harmony for sure. So the thing is, like, we got to start at looking at the. Oh, I got vitamin C pills running off my desk here. We got to start looking at the lies and understanding like how the context is set before we can, really understand what's going on. And so if you turn on a TV, if you make yourself susceptible to marketing in any way, shape, or form, then you get lured into drinking things that are being offered as substitutes for energy, right? So why do you go to Starbucks? It's not because you want to put a bunch of chemicals in your body. It's because you want energy. You want to feel good.
Mm.
why do you grab a Red Bull or a Monster Energy or whatever those drinks are that people, I don't even know what Red Bull tastes like or Monster Energy tastes like, because fortunately for me, early enough on, I got a transition from those artificial roller coaster energy fields to what I was designed to run on, which is living
Mm.
water. And
Mm.
so once I started running on living water, then it's like 99.8% of the time, that's what I drink. And if you listen to the cultural dialogue, it's so funny. Like go into a restaurant and watch people order. And if somebody orders water, they'll go, "Oh, I'll have just water." Like they offer an excuse for it as they
Mm.
as they order the very thing that we're made of. And so the first thing to realize is the distractions come with a strong vibration and frequency, right? Because they have to keep you from knowing the truth of who you are. So
Yes.
the sugar addiction, that thing you describe of like not stewarding our body well, like for me, the story is about the Whole Foods cookie bar. And I would drive to Whole Foods and on the way I'd be like, no cookie bar today, no cookie bar today, no cookie bar today. I'm gonna do it. I'm getting out of there without cookies. And then there I am loading like a pound and a half of cookies into a bag. And before I've left the parking lot, there's three-quarters gone. They don't even ever make it home, you know? And I'm like, cookie bar got me again. I'm like, what part of me does that get?
Yeah.
That part that's that strong, that's the part that's not you that you think is you. And so what we're after is we're after realigning the being with the creator. And so the problem is the energy of the living water is subtle and the disinformation is strong.
Mm.
So it takes a really strong will to say, I'm going to experience this. And so that brings up like one of those, 3 days on, 3 days off things.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is better is better.
Mm.
So I started to realize, having had so many days of pain in my life, that if I could stack experiences that were better and better and better and better, then all of a sudden I wasn't in pain. I was in
Mm-hmm.
better. And so what the invitation is to begin to rewire from that nasty roller coaster, caffeine, sugar, uh, chemicals of different kinds, additives and dyes. Like if you look at something, if I'm going to drink something that's not water, an example of that would be I'll go pick up a quart of aloe now and then. And if you look at the container that I pick up, the ingredients say aloe.
Right.
I'm like, all right, now I could drink that. Like that appeals to me. That's really exciting. So if it says malto this or any multisyllabic word that you can't pronounce, anything that comes from something other than a plant or a tree or a bush that you can just walk out to, like aloe. I know what aloe vera like looks like and just like I've actually cut the leaves open myself and
Mm.
and consumed them right out of the leaf. If it's not that, then it's crap,
Mm.
right? And it's moving you like in the realm of harmony and chaos. You're moving toward chaos. You're moving toward chaos. You're moving toward chaos. So
Mm-hmm.
when we start talking about benefits, like what we're after is natural cycles and rhythms. Now, if we actually take a being and we bring them back into alignment with their blueprint and into alignment with the creator, then the benefits that can be experienced are unimaginable from the place where you're coming from. So when you're inside of the judgments that some Christians have toward others, like I thought Christianity was supposed to be about loving people and like being really awesome with it. And some Christians really are that way. And some of them, if I don't do it their way, they annihilate me. I'm like, well, like what happened there? Like, I don't think they're bad people. I just think somehow that which they're standing for is carrying a chaotic edge and they don't realize it. Like,
Yeah.
what happens on the way to that cookie bar that causes me to lose control of my desires and intentions for my life, my preferred health outcomes that I say I'm dedicated to, fall by the wayside and I annihilate myself. So I would suggest quite simply that there's the natural world and the unnatural world, and that the natural world, when you're in it and you're aligned with it, you don't have as many of those things happen. And let's not kid ourselves. Drinking a gallon a day or half a gallon a day of living water isn't going to miraculously disappear the cookie bar. I'm proof. I'm proof. But what it is going to do is it's going to allow me to keep pulling in all the creativity and all the alignment with natural energies in my life. And eventually, I've kept eating cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. I mean, I remember when we met, my just outright admiration for your strength around your physical vessel. I'm like, that dude takes care of himself in a way that I'm like not capable of taking care of myself. And, a few months ago, I was like, you know what? Enough already. Like, somebody's got to take care of this body. I vote for me. So I decided that I would do Thursdays liquids only. And then I decided if I feel good on Tuesday night, I'll do Wednesdays liquid only too. And I'll do Friday dry fasting. And I was like, that's it. Like that's it. Like, somebody's got to man up around here, and that's it. And so I found every week that when I started, every week I was good on Tuesday night. So I went liquids only, and liquids was like wide open. I could have a protein shake if I wanted to. I didn't limit it. I was like, if you need nourishment, dude, have at it. You can have everything you want. So I did some bone broth and, different amino acids. And then I got to the fifth week and my body was like, no, dude, no amino acids, no broth. Like, just a little bit of water is all I want. And I'm like, oh, like, you're really not giving yourself much nourishment. And my body just took over and it was like, well, this is what I want. And so it ended up, I gave myself in the fifth week very little nourishment because I was listening to my body. And it drove a detox that was profound. And it actually hit my bronchial area where I used to get sick all the time as a kid. And now I'm like really, really good in the lungs now. And so when it hit the bronchial, I was like, oh, like, we're hitting the unresolved stuff from childhood. Like, we're getting another cut at it. And so these things changed. And I'm now, for the first time in my life, peacefully eating very little food. Like, my body, I just don't want it. And I only want things that, like they say on the label, like aloe vera, like that's it. So when we turn a person on and we ask about like what kind of benefits are they going to get? Well, if it's your time, you might drop a whole bunch of weight. If it's your time, your third eye might open up. If it's your time, any manner of vibrational experience can come in and change you permanently. I think the most important thing is you start to like water more.
Yes.
You start to stack better experiences, and you open communication with your creator. And then if you'll stay on the path and just allow the river to meander, it leads to the satisfaction of every major theme in your life. It just takes time. And we're not used to attributing that to water, but I know exactly how to prove that it's water. It's so easy. All I have to do is take my living water away for a couple of days. That's all I have to do. And I watch. and my emotions start crashing in on me, and things get tighter and smaller, and I lose possibilities, and I just like, that's all it takes. So that 3 days on, 3 days off, if you're masochistic enough to need to prove it to yourself, then once you start feeling better, just stop applying the water and see what happens. And that's when you find out really quickly that the water is the essence of it. So it's not the only thing; it's just the essence of it.
It's almost like well, it's a foundation. It's a foundation. It's a vital resource for expansion and growth in whatever area you want to see that. A lot of times people don't understand, why am I struggling? I'm putting energy and effort towards this outcome. Why am I struggling? Why am I yo-yoing? Well, if you don't have fundamental tools and resources to get to that end goal, of course you're going to flounder. I really like how you describe the benefits of structured water, because it leaves, once again, it leaves the whatever it is that you need to get from it. It leaves it open to the possibility that whatever you need to get from it is possible. It doesn't, a lot of people are looking, well, is it going to help clear my skin? Is it going to help if I'm infertile? Is it going to help with weight loss? Yes, and everything else. Because it is a fundamental necessity that your body needs when we talk about energy. Everyone's chasing these energy drinks. I have had Red Bull and I've had Monsters because I was 19 when that stuff really got popular, and I was working for a door-to-door sales team, and we got sponsored by like Red Bull. Like, we shotgunned Red Bulls. And we heard stories of people having heart attacks and dying from drinking things similar to Red Bull, right? So even before I was on my health and wellness journey, I was like, I'm not about to be drinking nothing that's going to potentially give me a heart condition. That's crazy. But you're chasing energy because you consume this discord water, this water that is not doing the job that it's supposed to do. If water is supposed to hydrate the cells, and you have this harmonious water going into your body in different forms, then it's not going to hydrate the cells. You're not going to generate the energy. The cells won't generate that ATP. You're going to feel sluggish. You're not going to be clear minded. And actually, the first time I heard you say better is better, I stole it. I instantly, as soon as I did a live stream, I told people, I said, better is better, you know? And I do believe I gave you credit. I don't think I mentioned you by name. I think I said a friend or a colleague, but
Well,
better is better.
I picked that one up from Tom Tam. He's an Asian master in Quincy, Massachusetts, and like
There
everybody
you go.
on the South Shore of Boston has studied under Tom Tam, and he's just hilarious. He's like, better is better. What do you want?
Better. It's such a simple concept, but like all of the answers that we're looking for are simple like that. They're all simple. We're so thinking, oh, we're looking for this real big outcome. We want this, that, whatever. Like, if your finances are absolute trash and you get to a place where you're able to save $1,000 in your bank account, even though on the grand scheme of things, people might think $1,000, that's nothing. You can't even cover a major emergency. It's better than where you were, isn't it? Like, you're progressing, you're better. You're in a better position, you know? If every day we got incrementally better, where are we at the end of the year? Now, I'm going to talk about some of my experiences with structured water, because I want to try to maybe crystallize some of this for people, just to give them an example. Well, first of all, I found structured water at the beginning of my health and wellness journey. So before a healthy alternative was a healthy alternative, I found structured water. Started researching this 10 years ago. And if you look at my path, since I've found structured water and I started drinking it exclusively since then, and all I've done is increase um, my interaction with it. So it went from the handheld water structuring devices to um, shower attachments and things of that nature, and recently whole house structuring units. Like, and I went from having no energy. I would fall asleep at work. I went from eating processed foods all of the time. I went from not even understanding, like, if something was wrong with me, I didn't have any other choice but to go to the doctor. I built this incredible community. A lot of people, they look at the community and all that stuff, and it's just like all of this happened after structured water. Now, I'm not saying that it's the sole reason. I think you mentioned that too. It's like it's not because I'm drinking it, but I had a goal that I wanted to become healthy. Like, what level of health am I supposed to have? And I'm working towards that. What's the best thing? And throughout that time, I played with different waters for sure. I remember I hit you up one time and I'm like, Patrick, what do you think about hydrogenated water? You know? And of course, you basically told me what you told us today. If we using electricity, we not mess with nothing electrical, anything man made. We want to get away from things that are more mechanical and man made and get back to what's more natural. You know, and I discarded hydrogenated water. However you say that word. Uh, my most profound experience with water was the most natural thing that I could possibly do at that time. I took one of the structuring devices that you sold. Um, I took a distiller and I took a clear glass bottle of water with a cork and I cleaned the water up. I structured it and I put it outside in the sun. And it was the most profound experience I ever had with water. And so when you talk about take some time away from structured water, I do take time away from it, but not intentionally. It's just because I didn't prepare myself well enough. I'm traveling. I don't have it and I hate it. I hate it. Like, I don't like not having my water. I never had that relationship with water before. I did not care before. I drink soda or tea or, any other liquid. So, um, it's been a spiritual experience for me. I started my garden since I started drinking structured water. One of the reasons I started my garden is because I learned that plants create structured water. And it's almost like a cheat code. You eat structured water. That's what I was talking about earlier with that gardener. He was saying they were eating their plants and they didn't need to walk around with bottles of water. But I had this thought while you were talking earlier. You were talking about living close to the beach, living close to water. And I was thinking, I used to think people live close to water exclusively because water is a life liquid. You need it. It's vital. So duh, make a settlement near water. And now I'm starting to think, in addition to that, is it possible that people live near water because it helped keep them in harmony?
I think
Like,
so.
we need to be near water. It is us. It helps keep us grounded. And because now we live in these cities where we can pump water, this unnatural discord water, we can just pump it anywhere. You could live anywhere. But maybe we're supposed to live near water.
Yeah, starting at like 3 or 4 years into this business around 2016, I started making all of my vacations around waterfalls and springs. So I wouldn't just go somewhere. I'd like go to findaspring.com and
Mm,
find out how can I connect as many natural experiences in water to this experience. And I don't think we have to just live near the water because for whatever reason, I've spent almost my whole life living on a coast, very close to water. And these days, I'm on an island, so I mean, I'm always I'm always around water, but I'm really drawn toward mountains, and so there is living water in mountains too. So
right.
I think the most important part is nature, like nature one, and then living water two, and then if we can get out the processing and the natural foods and whatnot three, like I don't think we have to rank them, but I think that those are the key pieces. So the majority of my diet now is either I have friends who hunt access deer here on the island, and then I forage for since September 20th. When I got back on the island, I've had between 5 and 35 avocados on my counter every single day until yesterday. I finally, I finally didn't walk out in the neighborhood and pick avocados up off the ground or
Crazy.
off a tree. That many for that long. I'm like actually looking forward to the end of avocado season, which, yeah. So, just natural, right? And it's
Yeah,
funny because I went and looked at the first mango trees yesterday. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to be ready in like 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm going to switch right out of avocados and into
to
mangoes.
mangoes. That's so amazing.
Yeah, and getting that harmonized water from plants, fabulous way to get it. You know, so Chris, we just need to reclaim nature, our relationship with nature, in the way that's best suited for us. That's the bottom line. And these artificial cities and constructs they're just not supportive of living a healthy and vibrant life.
Right. Um, First of all, I'm jealous. Okay, a little bit jealous. You can
Come
walk
visit.
around and grab
Yeah,
avocados.
come on.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I know, I know. I was actually supposed to come to Hawaii in October, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen anymore. But anyway, I want to give you an opportunity to share how people can get their hands on the Aqua Energizers. I don't know if you want to share the cost, any information that you want to share about it, so that people can grab one. Because I know that there's some people that probably been waiting, like, how can we get it? When are we going to be able to get it? What's up?
That's great. Well, our website is three words together, the Wellness Enterprise, thewellnessenterprise.com. And we have the Aqua Energizers prominently positioned there. And this portable device is the one nine out of 10 people purchase because you can do everything with this one. All the others are about convenience. This is about necessity. So what I mean is, even if you buy a whole house device, you still leave your home. And when you leave your home and you're used to drinking structured water, there's no being without it. You heard Chris say on this call, like, I hate it, and same for me. Like, it does not feel good to be without. So everybody needs a portable. Why don't you just start with the portable? All of our small devices are $599. Just get the portable. You're going to have one anyway. And then get
Mm,
to know it through this product. And, all you do is hold it up to a faucet. So you'll take, I like to drink out of these mason jars. So put a mason jar in the bottom of the sink or whatever, and I'll hold the device over it, and then I'll, put water in through there. And then the other devices, again, it's all about convenience. So if you want a shower, a sink, a garden, a quick connect, which are for RO units, or you want a whole house device, those are just all available to make it convenient for you to turn on a faucet. And you just go to thewellnessenterprise.com. We have a mandatory field on our checkout that we ask that you tell us how you heard about us. Chris's name is in the list. Just type in Chris James and choose his name. We're going to show Chris a little love if you end up buying a device. It's just part of what we do, is like we build an ecosystem of healthy businesses. And there's no reason that we wouldn't. Chris has built a community. The community is a great match. Let us share. If we profit, there's a little bit for everybody. So we'd love to know you found us through Chris. And then my biggest offer of all is, if you're worried, like, you live near Dallas like Chris, and you're like, oh, the water here sucks. Like, I don't know, like, if this is going to be good enough for me. I don't have confidence about this, or I do have this way of doing things. Just call us. And if your questions are of a certain level, my son James will give you a call back and handle them. And if they're more complicated, or I'm on the phones that day, I'll give you a call back. Like, it's father son, and you're going to hear from one of us, and we're going to love you. And
mm.
our goal is to cause you to be clear. That's it. So you can, like, talk to us about any type of filtration. I have so much knowledge about filtration, and I'm happy to give it all away. We have a couple filters that we sell for very specific reasons. If you're one of those people, I'll tell you, and you can buy one from us, or just go buy it somewhere else. It's not what we're in business for. It doesn't make my heart pitter patter. Like my heart pitter patters if you get an aqua energizer. So just come visit us at thewellnessenterprise.com and call us on the phone, send in contact messages, or just place an order. Like whatever it is, we just want to love on you. We want you to be clear and want you to be like immersed in living water. And that's pretty simple. Did I miss anything, Chris?
No. All I can say is like for me, my interaction with your company, as well as like other people, right? Other people who have interacted, it's always been very personable. It's always been very warm. It's all like I've had no issues with any type of support, customer service. And the thing is, you think, oh, well, because you know Patrick. I interact with the company holistically. It's not always Patrick. It's, you know, I'm not going to say people's names, but like there's other people that I interact, and I've always just had great experiences. They don't know who I am, you know? Um, and I think ultimately is like, just your heart. Like me personally, I want to do business with people who I like, who have a passion for what they do. When I go to a restaurant and I get incredible service, I want to tip more. I want to go back more. And I want to tell my friends, hey, you should go and eat there, right? I love being able to reciprocate when someone puts time and energy and love and care into a product or a service. That's one of the reasons why I was so anxious to bring you on the channel, because I've enjoyed the products that you sell, the product you created. I've been able to enjoy it for years, and I wanted my audience to be able to have that experience as well. So, that's pretty much it, guys. Go grab one and think of it as an investment. Do something for yourself in a way that you may never have done it before. Make water a priority in your life. If you keep hitting your head up against the wall, you're wondering, why can't I seem to figure this out? When was the last time that you made water a priority? Like the way we talk about water, you could tell we care. It matters to us. You know, I want to impart that same burning energy and passion about it to you as well. Like it's what we're made out of. Remember, your body was formed in your mother's womb in water. That's what we come from. It's what we are. So they use water against us. So now it's time for us to reclaim our energy. And I think this is a great tool to do that.
Well, thank you for your ringing endorsement of our company. We really do love people. You know, I used to call big corporations and like I would get crazed when I would get on the phone with them, like trying to get customer service for them. And I was like, I'm going to create a company that loves people. Like you call us on the phone and we can't always answer the phone. Like, you know, we're a small company. If 3 people call at once, we're overwhelmed. But
Right.
we could call you back in a half hour, you know,
Yeah.
no problem. So, you know, if people write us or people call us, they get human interaction like always, because that's how we want to be treated. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you've experienced that. And, you know, everybody experiences that. And honestly, every once in a while, somebody gets like inflamed with the way we treat them. And it's always the same. I call them up and I say, what happened? What should have happened? What can I do to make it right? And that's it. You know, and we just, it's not that we're perfect. It's that we're willing to communicate if we're not and make it right. So we take a lot of pride in being who we are. And honestly, we wish more corporations cared for people as much as we do. And
Yeah.
that we're doing our best to set an example about how businesses can make choices from oneness, from love. And when you do that, you're taken care of and supported on your side too. Plus, you like your work. So, you know, why not do it this way?
All right. Listen, before we go, I want to let you guys know I've got the DR96 coming up. Okay, it's actually our dry fasting challenge. The reason I decided to talk about this today, because we've been talking about water, Chris. You talk about water, but you're doing a dry fasting challenge. Why would you? Because in order to do the dry fasting challenge, leading up, our preparation, we are going to be keyed into hydration. There's like the preparation for dry fasting is making sure that you are properly hydrated. This is the perfect tool to use along with your preparation to help just we want to infuse your body with water and get you hydrated well so that you can. I had a question someone asked me yesterday, Chris, how are you guys dry fasting for 6 days, 7 days? It's because we hydrate really well before we start our dry fast. And this, I drink structured water. So people are like, I'm struggling with dry fasting. Why? I don't know. Maybe you're not hydrated well. Okay. So this will be a great complement to that. So if you guys are going to be joining the dry fasting challenge, grab a structuring device, Aqua Energizer from Patrick, sign up for the challenge, and let's see what your experience is like with dry fasting. And then you'll have your own personal testimony. See that?
Amazing.
So Patrick, thank you for joining us today, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. I definitely want to have you come back. So anybody who's got any questions, anything like that, you guys can throw them in the comment section. I'm going to have Patrick come back. We'll do a live stream. We'll get it all scheduled out so you guys can kind of join, and we'll go through some of those questions if people have questions, need clarity or whatever. And we're just hoping to entice you to do something, maybe something different, something you've never done, something you've never cared about, you know? So,
That sounds awesome.
Patrick, any last words? Any social media you want to share? Anything like that?
No, we're just a simple company. We're on the wellnessenterprise.com. Honestly, our vision is to meet your audience where you are, and to make you look good in front of your audience. So we're not really into the social media stuff. We want you to be successful, and if you're successful, you take our mission with you. So I thank you for the opportunity to share it. And yeah, the live call sounds like a lot of fun. I love like hearing where life meets adoption of new things and like what people struggle with. And I've lived this so intensely that basically if somebody's struggling with something on it, I guarantee I've been down the road.
There you go. Water specialist. This is what I'm talking about, Listen, y'all, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you all next time.